This is Colin, Catv Live. Welcome to my show. Today on this show we have
Rafiq. Thank you for having me, Colin.
Rafiq. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I heard that you had something to do with some music going on back in the day, so break it down to me.
Well, I'm from Houston. I grew up in H-Town. Um, I'm from Houston. You're from Houston. I think we went to rival schools, if I'm not mistaken. I think you went to, Willow Ridge?
Correct.
I went to Westbury, a couple other schools, but the I guess the point of this interview actually is to find out what role I actually played in the music industry in Houston. Review.
Well, what role did you play?
I got connected to a man in Houston by the name of James Scully Austin. Rest in peace, Scully. And Scully happened to be the best friend of the top promoter in the country, which at that time was Al Heyman. And from once I hooked up with Skull, I traveled with Superfest, different Budweiser Superfest from started in the 90s, probably 90, actually, matter of fact, it was probably 92, so 92, 93, up to 94. I probably traveled the first 3 years with the Budweiser Superfest, including the group H-Town. I actually started in the music industry like maybe 91, 92-ish, somewhere around there. There was a gentleman in Houston by the name of James Scully Austin. He was a good friend of Al Heyman, as a matter of fact, R.I.P. Scully. He had just gotten off tour with MC Hammer, and he traveled with everybody. I mean, that was his whole, his business was the concert ticket business in Houston. And I was introduced to him, and after the first 3 years of traveling, when the tours were over, I would come back to Houston, and I happened to move into a complex that was owned by the man name was Larry Vaughn. He happened to have the record label Electric City Records, which was K Reno, and I'll never forget it because I would get off tours and come home basically in a cab, and then I would, have these passes hanging off my neck and have my luggage and so forth. And I'm running in and out because I was back and forth, in and out of the city on these different tours. And I ran to Larry. He stopped me as I was headed. As a matter of fact, I got out of the cab and went in the house. And then as I was coming back out the house to wait on the cab to come back and pick me up, Larry Vaughn approached me and he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" We spoke to him, and he was like, "I see those passes around your neck. What do you do?" So he was like, "Well, I have a record label, and my son's a rapper." And I was like, "Who's your son?" He's like, "His name's K Reno." And I was like, "No, I've never heard of him." He said, "Well, yeah, we'll have I'm an independent label and so forth. But why don't you come out of the office and let me, come talk to me?" And yeah, I was on the Budweiser Superfest. I think on that tour, like I said, it was LL, Naughty by Nature, Silk, Shy, SWP, and the group out of Houston, H-Town. And once we finished that tour, I came home, and of course, I went to Electric City Records, and I run into Gary Ewell, the same man I'd been crossing back and forth throughout the cities. Gary at the time was with Flavor Unit, which was Queen Latifah's label, but that was also that tour. They had Digital Underground and Pac and all those was on that tour because it was done under Flavor Unit. Okay, however that was done back then, but the Flavor Unit, whatever it was, Flavor Unit that was their tour, and Gary Ewell worked for Flavor Unit. Okay, well, once I walked in the office and I saw all his backstage passes hanging behind his desk, and I still had mine, and we looked at each other like, "Yo, wait a minute," and we was like, "Wait a minute," and so we kind of bumped heads. We kind of kicked it from there. Well, the owner of the label says, "Well, look, I would like, since you guys both been out on the road, been on these long tours, I would like to get my son out on the tour. How can we make this happen?" Well, of course, Gary was the I think Gary acted as the tour manager is what he did, and I was the promoter. Okay, I was basically the general manager promoter for the label. So Gary routed a tour, and we took K Reno out on his very first tour. We was gone for 3 months on that tour. We hit all the South, all the way up to Ohio. Okay, and then once we got back, the various labels that had been created, because the first label in Houston, the main label in Houston at that particular time, which was like 94, I want to say 93ish, 94, that was Rap-A-Lot. Okay, that was Ghetto Boys. That was Rap-A-Lot. Okay, so it was Rap-A-Lot. There was Perion Records, ESG. So it was Rap-A-Lot, number one, Perion Records, number two, and then all the other labels started coming about. You know, from Suave House, of course. Suave House came and they made a lot of noise in Houston. I said they bought MJG. Between Rap-A-Lot and Suave House, those were the main two labels I was really fighting for the airtime. Okay, however, you had other labels like I worked for Jam Down. As a matter of fact, Inmate Records, that was 20 to Life. Big Time Records had a lot of stuff going on. As a matter of fact, Big Time, that was the home of DJ Screw, actually the original home of UGK. So it went from UGK to DJ Screw, to PSK 13, to Point Blank. There were some other guys, Alcatraz, and then some other people over there. But that label started, and then you went to, you had Trinity Garden Cartel. As a matter of fact, I want to say what's up to Daryl Scott from Blast Records. Okay, Daryl Scott broke a lot of people. Lester Sir Pace. Okay. Also Anthony. Anthony, I can't think of Anthony's last name. He ran High Volume Records over on Fondren. But a lot of those guys, got to give a big shout out to Robert Gillerman. Robert and Mark Gillerman at Southwest Wholesale. Okay, because that particular distribution in Houston, initially they weren't a music distributor. Okay, but Russell Washington from Big Time Records the very first product he took over to Southwest Wholesale was from UGK, and then from UGK, that's when Screw went over there. Well, I started as a promoter, and I put Screw and the other labels on the map in regards to driving the country. Retail radio street is what I was in charge of. Okay, for each label, so I would actually route their tour, make their phone calls for them, send out all their POP, which is their promotional operating product.
Okay, now the information that I've given you all, a lot of information you'll be able to find on a documentary that I've produced. It's entitled "Houston Rap Legend and Real Promoters." Okay, and I've kind of gave a quick breakdown on the rap industry of Houston, of really where it all started. Like I say, it started back with Rap-A-Lot, of course. They're the pioneers of, the rap industry, here in Houston. But it goes from, like I say, from Rap-A-Lot to, like I said, I mentioned Perion, I mentioned Electric City Records, the Big Time Records. A lot of you youngsters out here haven't the slightest idea as far as, of course, the SPM, all that was all a part of the whole South Park movement. Your Slim Thugs and all those people, they came much later. I mean, as I said, from 94 to 90, well, really from 94, I want to say from 94 to 2000, that's when Houston's rap industry you had labels just from Houston to College Station, and then Louisiana, of course. The Louisiana labels jumped into the mix of the Houston music. But overall, we had a great time. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. But Houston, the music scene that came from Houston, we actually create our own style. We actually influenced the various other from East Coast to West Coast. All the way up to the Midwest, we had a serious influence on the industry. We had our own style. One thing that we in Houston did not do was copy anyone else's style. Everyone else, basically on the East Coast and West Coast, they all started copying our style of music. We were some of the pioneers of the music industry. That was down south. You all, like I say, the documentary Houston Rap Legends Real Promoter
It'll be available soon on your streaming stations. You may hit me up at persistentpromotion66@gmail.com. Hey, also there's some other productions that are out that I'm in that I hope you all, would really appreciate your support, and that's from Fireproof Films, man. We've got all kind of films, they've got The Bad Boxer, they've got Kings of Credit, and in all these movies I'm mentioning, I'm in, okay? Tit for Tat, and then there's a couple other productions that'll be out, but kind of look for them. We're out here. Hey, people, let's do what we do, and hey, keep it going. That's what we do. Peace.
Thank you.
Peace out, man. He was good.